Welcome back to Dork Points, everybody. This is Ron, and tonight we are talking about all the first-person shooters I have played recently, starting with the retro games. Quake 2, yeah. This is super cheap. It looks refurbished or optimized or something here. It looks good, and it plays pretty great. And it's, like I said, it's like $2.99 on sale, $2.99 or $3.99 half the time, and you get so much content here. The main game is enormous, but then of course there's a ton of different DLC. All the DLC has 6 to 9 levels in and of itself and is pretty big as well. I will say the trophies for a lot of the DLC were bugged. I had to replay the endings of pretty much every DLC episode in order to get the completion trophy. I had to play them multiple times, so that sucked. However, also with this package, you get Quake 2 64. Yes, look at that, that wonderful little title screen there. But yeah, it's a whole nother game. I think 15 levels or so. It's great. It also looks a little optimized. Of course, the menu still looks like old school Nintendo 64, but yeah, I think this is probably optimized as well. But yeah, they made just a completely separate game for the 64 version, and it's on here, and it's awesome. So yeah, if you see this on sale, just get it. If you love retro shooters, it's great. I put it up there with Doom 64. I'd say Doom 64 is a little better, but yeah, I mean, just some of the, like, this is DLC. Look at this level design for the DLC. You're on the moon! So cool. And totally worth it. So yeah, Quake 2, get it. Alright, 13. There was a lot of people complaining about this. I guess some company did a remake, and it was completely broken. And then another company, Tower 5, took that remake and kind of remade the remake and made it better. I didn't know any of this, so the game, because of all these this controversy or these problems, the game is also super cheap. I think $2.99. I think it's on sale even right now for like $2.99, and actually totally worth it. It's you know, everything. There are still some problems, but you know, like this boss fight, you just kind of stand and shoot at him. But yeah, it's you know, I played most of the game on normal, and I was able to beat it. I think for this boss fight, well, these stealthing missions, I did have to do this level on easy, because the stealthing missions are so old school. Like, you have to know where all the bad guys are, and then, you know, well, move and hide bodies as well, but then you have to know where all the bad guys are and kind of walk up right behind them, then get into like a little nook or cranny, and then wait for them to pass, and then do that over and over again. So it's like an old school PS2 game, which it is. But yeah, I would say that's probably my biggest problem with the game, is the stealthing missions aren't very fun. But otherwise, a great game for basically $3 right now. It's good. It's an old school game, but it's good, and it looks good. All right. Moving on to Battlefield Hardline. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call this retro, but it is 10 years old at this point. So, yeah, you're looking at a 10-year-old game, and it looks pretty good, actually. And there are some driving missions, pursuit missions, escape missions. Then you have, of course, your standard shooting, but then, again, just like 13, there's so many stealthing missions, and I don't know. I mean, when I think of Battlefield, I want just an all-out, blast-him-in-the-face, crazy shooter, but so many of especially the earlier levels, it's all about sneaking and hiding and taking people out strategically. It gets a little too hard if you try to take them on all at once, so especially if you're playing just on normal. I don't know how it plays on easy, but anyways, the story here is pretty good. There are only 10 episodes of the story, and some of the characters flip-flop so much that it's almost annoying. Like, they don't like you, then they trust you, then they betray you, then they need your help, and then you gotta trust them again, and then I don't know. It's kind of silly. But like I said, only 10 episodes, but the episodes themselves are all pretty meaty, and it's fun when you get into the shooting like this, and you're just blowing people away. It's pretty enjoyable. But yeah, these old games and the stealthing missions, I don't know. Anyways, moving on to Heavy Fire Red Shadow. I think this game is 8 or 9 years old. It's meant for well, it's optional. You can use VR with it, but it's basically just a turret shooter, and you're just in this position and shooting at people that are they're almost too far away. Like, the action is kind of, it's almost boring. There's not really any action because everybody's shooting at you so far away. Now, I imagine, like, with VR goggles on, you could see things a little better. You can zoom in a little bit, but not a lot. Yeah, it's, you know, it was 99 cents, by the way, so it's totally worth that price. But there are only really 3 levels. There's beach, beach at night, beach at day. Warehouse at night, warehouse at day. Military base at night, military base at day. And that's it. So, really, a real 99-cent game. And sadly, you know, I don't know, I played it for a couple hours, and that was just enough. There's not much fun to be had here, unfortunately. Alright, moving on to Warhammer Boltgun, and now we are into the boomer shooters, and was really excited, just wanted desperately to play this game, and really enjoyed it, sorry, for the most part. I was able to beat it. I was very surprised. It's again, this was another one that I played most of the game on normal. I think the bosses are pretty tough, I should say, and I think I had to switch to easy by the time I got to the 3rd or 4th boss. There's not many bosses actually in the game. I think there's maybe 4 or 5. But it's not what I expected. I thought it was going to be more like Doom Eternal, where you get locked into an area, and you do get locked into an area for the boss fights, and there's a couple wave rooms more towards the beginning of the game, if I'm honest. There's kind of waves where you're locked in, but it's really more just a straightforward shooter, and you have these wonderful big gothic areas to explore, and it's really cool visually. However, like, the exploration, I don't know, the levels are so huge, but secrets, I don't know. The secrets are okay, I guess. Sometimes the levels are almost too big, if I'm honest. But yeah, Boltgun. Get it if it's on sale. It's cheap. Alright. Exodemon. Look, a very Radaleka kind of looking cover. Did not know what to expect here. Purchased this game for $1.99 and then forgot about it for a week or two. And then had this weird moment where I was like, wait, didn't I get another kind of boomer shootery retro game for super cheap? And then I was looking through all my games, and that cover, I kept kind of going past it because the cover just made it look like a cheap game. And it's cheap as in affordable, but the game itself is really good. This is a great, almost like if they made a first-person shooter on, like, the original Nintendo. Like, just the way the bad guys look, they look like characters from, like, Galaga or something. Just a weird design, but just a really fun game. Your right hand has a bunch of different guns on it. Like, there you go, missile launcher, automatic, shotgun, everything like that. And it shoots out of your palm. And then your left hand is like your health bar and your swiper, and you can swipe and kill people. Just really good game, actually. I was surprised. Some of the level design in the beginning of the game is pretty boring, but man, they make up for it later on. However, one big problem with this game, and I mean, they're really being what's the word, legit with the old school design here, because there are a lot of platforming sections, and the one thing I always hated about old school first person shooters was the platforming sections, because it's just, you know, more modern day they've taken that out, but I like that they're referencing that again, but it is frustrating. Anyways, moving on to The Spy Who Shot Me. Speaking of frustrating, this game's kinda cool. It's like a GoldenEye love letter, but it plays like that, and it's funny. I shot his pants off. But it's in the Sean Connery era, so everything looks very 50s-ish, and your character looks just like Sean Connery. So it's a love letter to both GoldenEye, but it's in that Sean Connery time frame. And yeah, there he is, looking very Sean Connery-like. However, okay, so the game is pretty cool for the most part. I think I picked it up for $3.99. And there was very little information about it. I'd never heard of it before, but I was like, I'm interested. It's a cheap boomer shooter. And I started playing it, and I kind of understand why no one's talked about this, because despite the wonderful throwback quality and then the level design being really cool, the shooting doesn't feel great. It just doesn't feel great. And then you get these number 7s. Oh, this scene is great, though. Look at this. It really does have a good sense of humor. The guy... the guy just slides all the way to the... but yeah, it really does have a good sense of humor, but yeah, you go to one area, you grab a 7, that opens the door that you were at previously. Lots of cool mini-games and stuff to play, and there's several different hub worlds, and within those hub worlds, there's different things to do. There's a boat level, that's kind of cool, which you can see here. I would say, like, for the first 4 or 5 levels, I was really enjoying myself, and then I got to this. And I think this might even be just level 4, but this section is so impossibly hard. I'm gonna keep playing it, but I've been stuck here for about a week, and it's just irritating. You have to stay in that circle while all these dudes just come running at you. And like I said, the shooting... God, the shooting just isn't great, and, you know, they're really trying to make an authentic throwback, but I wish that was a little better. And then when you die, you get this screen. Yeah, kind of medium. I don't know. If I get past that part, I'll do an update, but being stuck there makes it irritating. Alright, moving on to The Walking Zombie. This game is also kind of weird medium. It's got a wonderful kind of throwback style. I don't know if it's a purposeful boomer shooter or they were just making like a polygonal... I mean, this is a sequel to another game, and there's a lot of modern games like this. There's one free-to-play called, I can't remember what it's called, Mega Zombie, I think it's what it's called, might even be the same creators, but I don't mind the style, but I don't know that it's really purposefully throwback. I think it's just their style choice, but it was really cool at first, kind of like Spy Who Shot Me. Like, look at this amazing boss fight. But then the game drags on, and there's 4 or 5 towns that you go to, and in each town you get 30 to 50 missions, not including side missions. So by the time you're done playing this game, you are so sick and tired of seeing or doing these things. It gets really repetitive, even though it is fun, but it's almost too long. Also, there is a broken level. One of the helicopter missions where you're supposed to shoot zombies from the ground, you spawn outside the helicopter and just float, and no matter if you delete the game, delete the save, re-upload it, do all that, it just does the same thing. The level's broken. Alright, moving on to Paranautical Activity. Yes, it's a boomer shooter, but it's almost, you know, kind of like with Mega Zombie. It's like, are they trying... Well, yeah, no, they're trying to be retro, if I'm honest, but yeah, it's okay. It looks really cool. I love the graphics, or the graphic style, I should say. I love the music. The shooting doesn't feel too bad, but all it is these random rooms, and you run into them, and random enemies spawn, and you try and kill them, and you usually last about a minute to 2 minutes before you run into a really major, like this guy. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, it seems like by the 3rd or 4th room, they throw these huge bosses at you. And there's 4 different game modes, but they're basically all the same. It's all just rooms, but you just get different weapons and different upgrades for each game mode. But it's all the same thing. It's about 2 minutes of fun, and then you die, and the screen just freezes like this. What a dumb way to kill you! And you're like, ah! But yeah, Paranautical Activity, kind of meh. unfortunately. Great soundtrack, though. All right, God Damn the Garden. Yeah, all the winners here. This one is definitely purposeful boomer shootery goodness. Or, well, I wouldn't say goodness, but it's it's Ratalaika, so the gun is a pea shooter, as always. And I don't know, I never got to upgrade my gun to like a shotgun or anything else, so it was not fun to shoot, which kind of makes it not fun to play. However, this Nintendo 64 throwback look, I really like it, and I like how mazy it is, and you kind of have to walk through everything a couple times to understand where you are and where you're going, and there's a couple cool secret areas that I found as well. But these bad guys, these little elks and then these frogs in the wall, the frogs in the wall are just almost impossible. You gotta shoot them like 20 times, and they're throwing waves of bullets at you, and it's just almost unfair. But there you go, goddamn the garden. Alright, moving on to Bouncy Bullets. You know, I never picked this one up because I always saw it for 49 cents, and I was like, this isn't even a shooter, it's more of just like a strategy or a whatever you call it game. You shoot bullets to open the area, and then you have to shoot specific colors at specific enemies when they're a specific color. So it's a puzzle game, but it's just not fun, and I knew it wasn't going to be fun, but it went on sale for like 19 cents, and I was like, alright, I'll finally get it and talk about it, even though I know it's just a waste of a game and not really a shooter, or even worth talking about as a shooter. It's more of just a platformer, and the platforming is unpleasant and slippery as hell, so don't waste your time, Bouncy Bullets, blah. Alright, moving on to The Last Dead End. Now this is a weird one, because I don't think this is purposefully supposed to be throwbacky. It's from 2019, I think, so it's not that old. I think it's just cheap, because you get to this point, well, the opening of the game seems really cheap and crappy, but then you start playing it, and it gets really scary and cool. All sorts of weird things happen. The walls close in on you, hands come up from the ground. But then, like about 2+ hours into the game, you get a gun, finally, and you start shooting zombies, and it becomes like House of the Dead. And it's really cool because of their cheapness here, or their cheap style. It really has a wonderful, like, old school House of the Dead look and feel to it, and the way it plays, so that's kind of great. But then, you know, of course, I got to the next area, and there was a giant werewolf just in my face. It was like a boss fight. And, man, if they had just made this all the game, it would have been great. But they did not. All right, and another one, Railbreak. So this is, I guess, a purposeful boomer shooter, but they're doing the old school on-rails shooting, speaking of House of the Dead, and it's pretty fun. I have to say the frame rate, or the frame dropping, or whatever's happening here, the game does not look good. I don't know if it was intended to, or it would help to be in VR. Maybe this is better with VR on, or better on the PS5, because look at how just jittery everything is. It's a little unpleasant, but I have to say, I played the whole 6-hour campaign, and I kind of enjoyed it. It was worth the $3-4 I spent on it. Yeah, you got 6 hours of kind of janky but fun gameplay out of Railbreak here, and I also like the fact that when you beat the game, the credits roll, and the credits are just zombies. Everybody worked on the game is a zombie, represented by a zombie, and they're coming at you. So you get an extra level with the credits scene, which I've never seen before in any other game. So kind of cool. Railbreak. All right, and now the final game of the night. And this is, of course, a modern game, but this is also... I mentioned this in a previous FPS Spotlight, and I just want to take back what I said, because I did finally get through the first level, and I started to like this game. But as the game goes on, I'd say by the 3rd or 4th boss, I had to turn on beat matching in order to get all the way through the game. The levels themselves are fine, but it's the bosses where you need the beat matching on. So yeah, kind of cheated my way through the game a little bit, but it was enjoyable. It's actually a good game. I really do like the music. and the visuals. If you like Doom kind of stuff, it's pretty great. Unfortunately, the best way to play is with the sword. I found the sword was the best weapon for the most part. But yeah, it's a shame, you know, the main levels, they're so much fun, but then you get in those boss fights, and if you don't have beat matching on, or if you're not a drummer, or you don't have natural rhythm, you're just not gonna have fun. But yeah, there you go. Check it out. It's pretty good. All right, that's all the FPS games I've played recently. I hope you enjoyed watching that, and thank you, everybody. Dork Points. Goodbye.